Hey, buddy, how's life at MSG? Look at you in the radio room.
Oh, man. The mecca of sports entertainment. They call it a place where multiple WrestleManias have been held. The home of the New York Rangers, the home of the New York Knickerbockers, the home of the Harry Styles banner that myself and Mike Heike of the Dallas Stars were marveling at its existence in the rafters of this classic building, where tonight the Dallas Stars take on the New York Rangers. And interesting, by the way, Merrick, and there's probably a story here to be written that I haven't written yet, but we were talking with Jason Robertson before. Now, Jason Robertson is someone who I would say is an extremely talented hockey player who nonetheless is on the cusp of maybe missing the Olympic cut based on how this team will be constructed. He is playing of Mike Sullivan this evening, the head coach of the New York Rangers, the head coach of the U.S. Olympic team. We'll see how things go.
There's no way. He was the number one goal scorer in November, the number one point getter in November. Every time he touches the puck, it goes in. This is the complete opposite of Jason Robertson from last season, where at the beginning of the season, the first half of the season, you could not find him. And then after he got the Four Nations snub, he went on this heater and somehow channeled the ghost of Rocket Richard. And again, everything was going in for Jason Robertson. And I can't help but think that if I'm Bill Guerin, not that you base all of your opinions on your team or what you need based on the Four Nations, but given that you were one goal away from winning the Four Nations, how you could look at someone like Jason Robertson and not say, maybe if we had him in the lineup, we could have won that thing last year. Like, seriously, I think that the nature of the final score and how it was decided by one single shot, I think it plays in great for Jason Robertson, and it should. He deserves to be there. He belongs there. Like, look, dude, you know what it's like at the Olympics. One goal can be all the difference. Hardest thing to do in hockey. One single goal. One power play goal, one 5-on-5 goal, it doesn't matter. One goal. Robertson gives you that. It's a gift. It's a gift that you have.
Counterpoint.
You have this gift handed to you.
Counterpoint. This is the same USA Hockey power structure that scratched Kyle Connor in that gold medal game.
Well, Matthew Tkachuk was the star of the belle of the ball. The whole thing was marketed around him, and so we had to see him on the bench.
We had to make sure he got those 2 shifts. That's exactly right.
Yes.
Well, but again, like, you got to. The construction of this team is still a mystery until we see what the actual roster looks like. Because I think the counter argument that Bill Guerin and Mike Sullivan would make is that, are we even in overtime against Canada were it not for the presence of a Brock Nelson, were it not for the presence of a Vincent Trocheck, not for the presence of the 200-foot veteran players that were on that roster, instead of Tage Thompson, instead of Kyle Connor, instead of Cole Caulfield, instead of Clayton Keller. You know where I stand on this. Let your freak flag fly. We have more offensive talent in the USA hockey pool than we've ever had in our lives before.
Yes.
Leave the 200-foot players at home, put the pedal down, and try to win games with your offense. Yeah. But I don't know if my thinking aligns with the thinking of USA hockey. So as much as I agree with you that Jason Robertson has stated his case quite loudly to be a part of Team USA in the Olympics, I don't know if they're hearing it, which scares me as an American hockey fan.
So bracket that for a second here. If we have more time, I do want to get back to USA and Olympics. We'll see how the podcast goes today. Aaron Portzline is going to be stopping by in a second. We'll do the blueprint in a minute. But here's the question that I have for you. Top 2 teams in the NHL both exist in the same division they are right now, Colorado and Dallas. If they are both completely healthy, which team wins a series? Completely healthy.
See, I'm not a dummy. I could see what you're angling for here, which is that Dallas on paper is the deeper team.
Yes.
And I don't necessarily disagree with that, except to say that from an execution standpoint, Colorado remains the best offensive and defensive team in this league right now.
Yep.
I think on paper you can make the argument that Dallas is deeper and better and can roll 3 lines and what have you, and has really unlocked something, I think, with this line with Rantanen, Wyatt Johnston, and Jamie Benn, which we could talk about in a second. But give me McKinnon and Makar. Give me if we're saying they're all healthy, that means Nikushin's there, and he's clearly a difference maker.
Absolutely.
And here's the thing that we don't talk about enough, probably. Jake Oettinger, who I love as a person and as a player, I think has feasted upon a reputation forged early in his career as a postseason goaltender.
The Calgary series.
And
that's what you're thinking of.
Listen, I don't agree with Pete DeBoer. Okay, I'm not DeBoer over here throwing my boy under the bus. But I am saying that for the reputation that he carries into every postseason, I don't think Oettinger has necessarily lived up to it in many series.
Yeah.
And so with the way McKenzie and Wedgwood have played, I don't think the advantage in goal is as steep as some might believe it is for the Dallas Stars in a Colorado Stars series.
Okay. Now that we've parked that for 1 second, let's get to what's on the show today, because we have a lot to get to, and we're going to talk about fights, and we're going to talk about the pregame helmet rule. I'm looking at you, Ottawa. I'm looking at you, San Jose.
Jersey, too.
New Jersey Devils last night. We're going to talk a lot about last night's game against the Blue Jackets. But the Blueprints, as we kick off every show, is powered by our friends at FanDuel. Download the app today and play your game on FanDuel. It is Tuesday. That means MVSW time alongside Greg Wyshynski from ESPN. Looking forward to conversations, including but not exclusive to Monty versus Binner. Helmet rules we'll talk about. We'll talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets with Aaron Portzline and their new enforcer, Dmitry Voronkov. Chaos in Newark yesterday, and plenty on the Blue Jackets and plenty of other things. But before we get to all of it, do you know what today is the 30-year anniversary of?
Let's see. Today it's 2025. So 30 years brings us back to 95. What, the end of the lockout?
No.
Okay.
December 2nd, 1995. If Zach has this all queued up, and it's going to lead into one of our topics today. It was a game in Montreal. It was the Detroit Red Wings against the Montreal Canadiens as the Red Wings filled the net 11-1, and Patrick Roy is left in there to rot, and he finally gets the hook, and he walks by Ronald Corey, and he says, "I've played my last game in nets."
Oh my God!
And for those of you that collected trivia, it was Pat Jablonski that came on to take the place of Patrick Roy, and then a few days later, he was a member of the Colorado Avalanche, and they went on to win a couple of Stanley Cups.
First of all, I'm so incredibly dumb to not realize the lockout ended in 94 because the Devils won a cup in the spring of 95. Yes,
well, half a cup. They won half a cup.
You know, they won two more, Merrick. It's 2.5 at the very least.
Sorry, half a cup in half season.
I talked to Mikko Rantanen today about Patrick Roy, by the way.
Oh yeah, what did he say?
And well, he said he wasn't surprised that the moment went viral, but he also said he's not concerned for his well-being in the rematch in New York. I'll have the full quote in a story I'm writing for tomorrow for ESPN. But yeah, I said you do realize I think he said you're going to die.
He said you're not going to finish the game.
Yeah, but he seemed sort of not overly bothered by that. The thing I was going to say before at Robertson, by the way, this is the free story idea I'm giving away to our fellow writers and bloggers or whomever who's watching the show. I want to know if the players that are on the bubble for these Olympic teams, when they get a chance to play in front of the general managers or the coaches of those teams. Well, I guess in the case of coaches, we're just talking about Sullivan here. Yeah. What do those stats look like? Because like Jason Robertson is cognizant of Mike Sullivan being on the Rangers bench. And he said, look, I can't ignore the fact that this is a guy who never gets to see me play in person. Not only because he's coaching the Rangers, because he's coached in the Eastern Conference for the entirety of his career. And so, like, he's not going to go out of his way to imprint on Mike Sullivan, but it's certainly a carrot in front of him entering this game tonight. And I do wonder about when these guys get a chance to play and showcase themselves in front of guys that might not necessarily see them, what that looks like. And, you know, the overall picture of players that are competing for Olympic spots and players that maybe feel comfortable in the spots that they have, I think is really interesting when you get into what Tom Wilson's done, when you get into what Jason Robertson's done, Tage Thompson, what they've done, Clayton Keller. And then conversely, Merrick, what Braden Point hasn't done. He's on the roster. What Jordan Binnington hasn't done. He probably felt like he had the bag secured after the Four Nations last year. So it's been interesting to see those who are hungry and those who are fat and happy, and what the reactions have been early in this season insofar as effort.
So, okay then. So you're Don Sweeney and Julien Brisebois. Okay? Do you know where they were yesterday?
Where?
Buffalo. To watch the Sabres and the Jets. One would assume they're to see Mark Scheifele. We can talk about the Winnipeg Jets a little bit later on, but this is a team that is in a very bad way without Connor Hellebuck, and all of the flaws are being exposed on a nightly basis. Last night, exposed by the Buffalo Sabres. But that is an interesting one. If you follow the managers, or because everybody knows, like a couple of weeks ago there was that Sunday Buffalo game, and Bill Guerin was there, and it's like, okay, here comes Tage Thompson, here comes Alex Tuch, and here comes, like, you could just tell, like, players aren't stupid, and they know who's watching when, and there's always a little bit more of a jump in the step. I think it would be, not that necessarily the results always follow, but I think it would be foolhardy to think that these players don't play a little bit extra when they know there's eyes on them for the Olympics.
I mean, I'm not a betting man, but I would kind of take a glimpse at Jason Robertson's shot total tonight and see what that looks like at the moment.
26 shots! Good Lord! Jason Robertson!
I mean, it's an interesting little trend, and again, like, you look at how good Logan Thompson's played, how good Darcy Kemper's played, how good Scott Wedgwood's now on the long list for the Olympics. Like, you know, there's a certain amount of guys that just feel like they've got a shot. By the way, you mentioned Scheifele. Would you take Scheifele over Bedard or Celebrini at this point?
Knowing how Hockey Canada always sort of defaults to being very conservative and being veteran. You know, the youngest player they've ever taken was Drew Doughty when he was 20 years old in Vancouver in 2010. Then it's like the youngest is like 22. But me, I would take one of them. I would take one of the kids. But the thing is, I don't think necessarily that Scheifele would lose a spot to like Celebrini or Bedard. I think more along the lines of he would lose a spot to like Nick Suzuki, more than those kids. I could see.
They didn't, right? Because they didn't take Crosby in for Torino, right? Like I think he was.
It's always been one of those, like, okay, there was the massive mistake there.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not like he did anything in the following Olympics.
No, but you know what, though? Again, that was the failure of Hockey Canada, that just fell in love with the guys that won the gold the previous Olympics and said, let's run it back. Again, it's very much play it safe, and what can I sell to my bosses? Let's take this guy because he's won before. That makes sense. Okay.
If you want to believe that all life is public relations, I mean, the fact that you have a lot of really interesting, important people in this league chatting up Celebrini as the next Crosby, including my colleague Ray Ferraro, and you have Connor Bedard exhibiting a Doug Gilmour-esque fire in his tummy against the Anaheim Ducks, barking at the bench after scoring the definitive empty netter. I mean, like when listen, I'm sure that's all in the moment, and I'm sure that's like yelling at his buddy McTavish and what have you. But like when I saw the replay of that, my first thought was that the old suits in Hockey Canada must love this. They must love him barking at the bench.
He's going at the bench. Look at that. Nails. Okay, write that down. Write that down. Write that down. He barked at the bench. Put that on your sheet. He barked at the bench. So silly.
Exactly.
So silly. Yeah, again, I think it would be someone like Suzuki who would get the spot over Scheifele. It wouldn't be Celebrini or Bedard. But I want to get to something here quickly before I run out of time by getting distracted by sidebars that we always do. I want to get your thoughts on what we saw yesterday in the St. Louis Anaheim game. Most specifically, here we are. Did I mention it was the anniversary of Patrick Waugh versus Ronald Corey? 30 years. So last night, Jordan Binnington gives up to clunkers. The Mason McTavish goal, which you'll see here, short side,
Deflected by Cam Fowler.
and then the Pavel Minchikov goal, which is a great shot. Like, you really got to hand it to him. Great shot. So he gets the hook there, and this isn't exactly Montreal Forum 1995, but there's a good bark. Now, afterwards, Jim Montgomery was asked what was said, and Montgomery, tongue planted firmly in cheek, he said, "I love you," and I told him, "I love you," and everything is fine, which is a very entertaining way of...
If you look at Binnington's lips, you can make out, "Trade me to Edmonton right effing now." It's exactly what he said, word for word. The Montgomery thing was really funny. He talked about how he obviously doesn't like to have heat with his players and doesn't. He talked about how, I guess, after the period they had a little bit of a kumbaya session in the tunnel near the locker room, and we're okay after that. But here's the interesting thing about this. Is one of the most fascinating stats of the season so far, Merrick.
Okay.
When you think about Jim Montgomery and his system, what is the one word you think of?
Jim Montgomery?
It's defense.
I don't know. I'm not so sure about that.
He coaches a defensive system. I think at the very least, a system that has been very goaltender friendly. Can we agree on that? Here are the save percentages for Jim Montgomery's teams as a head coach in the National Hockey League: 923, 920, 929, 912, 884 in his last season in Boston, where he only lasted 20 games. And that, of course, was the season where Swayman missed camp because of the RFA contract situation. Last season, 897, which isn't great, but it was 13th. It was better than the average in the league. And then this season, it's cratered at 874 because Binnington and Hofer have been that bad. I am astounded that a Jim Montgomery team could have a save percentage this lousy. I put that much more on the goaltenders than I do on the coaching or the system or the defense in front of them. And
I put this on the D. Honestly, let me just park it there. I put this on squarely on St. Louis's D. I really do.
So?
Like, this D has gotten really slow, really fast. This is a team now. In the last, I would say, week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, the defense has tightened up. Like, Logan Mailloux this year to start was just brutal, awful. Sent him down to Springfield. He's come back and he's played better. But this has been, and again, we're back to like the Cam Fowler that looked as complacent in St. Louis as he did in Anaheim before the trade. Like, this is a blue line that has completely let this team down. Now, there are a lot of holes with St. Louis kick off the season, but I would put, again, the goaltending has not been spectacular at all. Joel Hofer came in yesterday on the heels of Binnington at the yank, and initially he looked pretty good. Like, the one point that I've made about Hofer is I don't know that I've seen a bigger guy play smaller this year than Joel Hofer, which is weird because I thought he was going to be one of the great, the next great goaltenders. Oh, he spent his time in the American Hockey League, and here comes Joel Hofer, and that's the reason why they're going to be able to trade Jordan Binnington. It's been a disappointment. Binnington has been a disappointment as well, but I think a big part of it has been that defense has been really bad. That blue line's been awful.
I don't disagree. I think I don't think the defense has been good. I also think it's very poorly constructed, but it doesn't change the fact that when you factor in the analytics of what's expected out of these goalies based on the shot quality they're facing, they're both completely underwater. If you go by Money Puck, Binnington's at a minus 5.6 goals saved above expected in all situations. That's I think fourth lowest in the league for players with at least 10 games played. If you go by the numbers for Stathletes, he's at minus 11.6 goals saved above expected. So even with as bad as the defense has been, and even with as poor as they've been at executing the structure, the analytics tell you that both these goaltenders, and Binnington in particular, have been absolute garbage.
The weird thing about it, Binnington is fascinating because it was just like 2 years ago we were talking about him as one of the top 3 goaltenders in the NHL in the conversation for the Vezina Trophy and getting votes that would betray that as well. And we've seen the guy that famously went on the big hot streak that won the St. Louis Blues the Stanley Cup. And we've seen the other guy that is, to be kind, hard to hit on a nightly basis. Hey, goalie's hard to hit.
So That's to me. That's the most. Listen, Bennington's fascinating for a number of reasons. His hot-headedness, the fact that I believe he wants to lead the league in fighting majors if he could. But the thing that's most fascinating about him, like you said, and like Montgomery indicated last night in his post-game comments, is we've seen when this guy is at his best what he does and what he does in pressure situations. And while we examine the goaltending pool for the Canadians, and now all of a sudden they do have some other interesting options like Logan Thompson and Mackenzie Blackwood and others. None of their ceilings are as high as Bennington's, and that's really the interesting thing about him. Like if you want to say peak of his powers, what he can do, look no further than Four Nations in overtime. And I don't think that Logan Thompson has that ceiling, and I don't think that Darcy Kuemper has that ceiling, but Bennington does. But the risk you run is that you're going to get the guy who, like you said, is impossible to hit with the puck.
Now listen, I don't want to take anything away from Jordan Binnington's last game in the Four Nations. He was excellent. But it wasn't as if he went through the round robin and there wasn't that one goal every game where you're like, oh.
Nope. You're completely right.
That can't. Like it wasn't as if he was like 74-75 Bernie Parent. He was not. It wasn't like 2012 Jonathan Quick. He was not. Not a chance. No. There was always the one goal every game, and everyone trust me, Greg, everybody in Canada went, okay, we can't have that one goal. And to his credit, he didn't allow that one goal. The one like, the clunker that really kills you. What if at the end of all of this, discussion, after all the digital ink that has been spilled, all the sports talk radio airwaves that have been filled, all the hot air that has been pumped out about the goaltending for Team Canada, what if at the end of all of it, it was Kuemper, Wedgwood, and Thompson?
It could be.
And those were the three.
So that's the question I've been mulling over in my head. Besides the idea that Binnington has the higher ceiling than those three guys, and I believe he does, like, is there a certain amount of loyalty to the performance in Four Nations? Like, he's been terrible this season.
I think,
but he was not. But he was not terrible when it counted in Four Nations. You can't. I agree with you. Like the road there was not without its bumps, but when he got to the destination, Canada won the gold medal because of Jordan Binnington. I cannot stress this enough. They won the gold medal because of Jordan Binnington, and that is hard to ignore.
Team Canada won the Summit Series because of Paul Henderson. Paul Henderson had a very pedestrian career. No one would look at Paul Henderson's numbers outside of what happened at the Summit Series and said,
I don't know.
This guy belongs in the Hockey Hall of Fame.
That's why he doesn't have a path to the Hall of Fame, but he should be there as a builder. He built so much Canadian pride in the Summit Series. We got to put him in as a builder. Jeff.
No, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Like he had, like as a peak performer, he had like Paul Henderson had an incredible week, just a ridiculous week. That closed out three pretty high profile games. But again, I'll come back to, is that enough?
Look,
like he did it at Four Nations. He did it at Four Nations. But the thing is, it's the one game.
Again, I think the elephant in the room that we're both ignoring here is that the Olympics are being held in Italy and not in Boston. And that certainly is a strike against Binnington, because apparently when he's in Boston in a pressure situation, he does play like he's Bernie Parent. But when he's outside of Boston, maybe not as much.
Fair. All right. Fair point here. We're going to get more into the Columbus, New Jersey situation that we saw on Monday night. Brendan Dillon celebrating his 1,000th game in the NHL and then not finishing the game after he got in a scrap with noted goon Dmitry Voronkov, who, by the way, is just like farm bull like strong, as we've seen. So we're going to get into this with Aaron Portzline. But the other issue, and I know you're sort of itching to talk about this, I'm curious your thoughts on it. Technically, it's a rule. Much like the jersey tuck is a rule. Last time I checked, it may have changed. You're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to skate around and warm up without your helmet on. Ottawa has done it. San Jose Sharks have done it. Last night, the New Jersey Devils, instead of wearing a helmet, they wore 1,000 baseball cap.
Hats. Yeah.
To celebrate Brendan Dillon, which I thought was a pretty cool touch. I can understand the league and ownership saying, hold on a second. Pucks are flying around everywhere. Can we please protect ourselves there? We have the nerve to spend millions of dollars on these investments. If they're going to get hurt, we don't want it to be in warm-up. Your thoughts on this phenomenon? There has been letters that have been sent by the NHL or directives reminding teams that this is very much frowned upon and there are fines attached. Greg.
Yeah, I wrote about this on ESPN today. By the way, Dillon did come back in that game, by the way. He came back and played, which was insane. But we'll get to that in a second. So basically, the Senators started this last Wednesday when they decided to not wear helmets in warm-ups in order to change the karma in Vegas. They had lost 6 straight games to the Golden Knights in Vegas. They said Shane Pinto said they came to the agreement at a team dinner. Let's just try this nuttiness and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, you see what they did?
They win.
Did you see what they did against Dallas?
What?
They played without sticks. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
That's really funny.
Thank you.
Then the Sharks come to Vegas. They decide to do the same thing. I don't know if it was influenced or not. One assumes it didn't work. They lose, and then the Devils wear baseball hats to honor Brendan Dillon last night. So here's the thing that's interesting. Bill Daly confirmed to me that the NHL is going to send out a memo to all the teams to say there is a rule on the books that you have to wear your helmet in pregame warmups. What I found interesting is I forgot the nuance in this rule, which is that you have to wear your helmet in pregame warmups if you entered the league after the 2019-20 season. I forgot about that. This was I think it was 2022 is when they tweaked the rule, grandfathering in players that came into the league before 1920, where you can warm up without a helmet, but everybody who followed had to. I think that was a reaction to the rookie lap and those guys not wearing helmets during warm-ups as sort of the NHL tradition. Listen, I understand they're always going to err on the side of player safety, and quite frankly, some weird stuff can happen in warm-ups. We've seen injuries in warm-ups before.
Corey Potter.
But as we always discuss this league and marketing and connecting fans with players and all of that, you would assume that warm-ups would be a place where if you are watching from the stands or you're watching on television, you could have some great glorious shots of your favorite players without their helmets. As you know, Merrick, one of my planks in my platform has always been no helmets in the shootout, which is probably even more perilous than warm-ups. But I still say if we're going to have this bullshit gimmick to figure out how to end our games, you might
Let's make it dangerous. Let's make it dangerous too.
No, you might as well make it the marketing tool that it is, and have a guy without a helmet staring down the goalie and then skating in and trying to score. I think that it'd be awesome.
Visually, I'm with you 100%. But as far as like player safety goes, a guy like outside of Trevor Zegras, who wants to be like the American Yevgeny Kuznetsov with those like tiny slow which I absolutely adore. I love that Zegras does it. But outside of that, like guys come in with a good head of steam and either a toe pick or a crease crash or something.
A goalie's pad,
a goalie's stick. Like it's to me, it's not worth the juice is not worth the squeeze on that one. Listen, I get it because it would look so cool, but I don't know that looking so cool is worth losing someone for the season or even worse.
Look, on the one hand, you have season-ending head injuries. On the other hand, you have incredible content for TikTok fan cams. I think you have to find the right balance in the NHL between these two things, man.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's really fair. I mean, listen, I think that the NHL should always look for ways to get the helmets off the guys, the helmets and the visors off the guys, so you can actually see what they look like. And like, I love the along the glass stuff for the guy without his helmet and flipping a puck, or like hey, take a selfie with me and all that. Like that's all great. I just don't know an environment where pucks are flying around is the best possible environment for it.
No.
I don't know.
Everything you said is completely logical. It's why we have the rule in the books. And as cool as it looked, I mean, the one that was really, seeing the young Sharks out there against the Golden Knights, and they're all.
What has happened to the Wi-Fi at MSG? We'll try to get Greg back there. He's making a point. Oh, there we go. We got you back. Nope. Wi-Fi just kicked out at MSG, Greg.
Yeah, there's some hiccups.
All right.
It's free Wi-Fi. Also, I think they know I'm a Devils fan. I was going to say, like, seeing the Sharks playing with the puck and having fun, it was really dope. And it almost felt like it's the way it should be. But I completely understand the player safety aspects of this rule.
Maybe if you could, instead of for warm up, you can only use rubber pucks or tennis balls.
Yes, tennis balls.
Just like Craig McTavish. You remember Craig McTavish with the tennis balls when he was doing shot blocking practice with like everybody? This is in a lot of ways what began all of the shot block phenomenon. Is Craig McTavish with the Oilers with all the tennis balls out there on the ice, and then everyone else went, "Oh, that's a great idea. We're going to get everybody to shot block." Now everyone's got like two guys out from blocking shots.
I'm just trying to think if it's safer having a tennis ball come off the glass than a puck in warm-ups. Might be playing like racquetball without goggles. It'd be a little rough out there.
Yeah, there's this sort of John Candy get the squash ball in the face kind of vibe.
That's a great reference
about that one too. Yeah, thank you. Have you seen the documentary yet? By the way, I can't wait to see it.
I
can't wait to see this one. How is it?
Look,
how many boxes of tissues? Because I was a huge Candy fan.
Oh no! It's super sad, and it makes you really recognize. They spend a lot of time on planes, trains, and automobiles, and that movie I think is the one that established sort of the path forward for John Candy from being, one of the single funniest comedic actors we've had to being something that could have been more. I think the film makes a real argument for him deserving an Oscar nomination for Planes, Trains, and Automobiles for playing that role. But overall, I got to be honest with you. Like, I've seen 2 documentaries in the last month that are sort of the same vibe for me. The John Candy documentary, and then I just watched a documentary that came out this year on Mad Magazine, which the surprise one was a very big influence on a young Greg Wyshynski. And I felt both through a bit hagiography. Like, I wish there maybe was a little bit more, hey, John Candy was a guy who struggled a little bit, or the worst that was said about him is a quote from Bill Murray about how John Candy once didn't follow a script during a stage reading. Like, there's got to be something else here with this guy besides what we're getting. And the Mad Magazine one was just a bummer because there's a really good book on The Simpsons that came out this past year by, I believe it's Alan Siegel, that gets into, hey, this is all really funny, but by the way, like, the demographics behind the scenes very homogenous. And what did that do for the humor? What didn't that do for the humor? And I felt like there wasn't enough investigation about who was actually making Mad Magazine for my liking. But that being said, Merrick, any documentary that has Quentin Tarantino explaining the influence of Mad Magazine on his films is okay by me.
I'd like to see that. Okay, we're going to get to Aaron Portzline here in a couple of seconds. But first, this segment is a presentation of Bauer and the Bauer Pro Sharp Advant Edge. This at-home sharpener gives you the ability to sharpen your skates with pro-level precision at the touch of a button. Leveraged by decades of progressive innovation, this machine is designed to be as automated, precise, and convenient as possible. Easy to use. The Advant Edge features an interactive touchscreen, user profile, and has readily available how-to videos from troubleshooting tips to have you ready to sharpen like an expert. Whether you're sharpening skates in your garage, at the rink, and even on the road, great for tournaments, folks, the Advant Edge at-home sharpener ensures that your skates are always game ready. Learn more about the Bauer Pro Sharp Advant Edge at Bauer.com. And with that, our good friend here to talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets coming off an interesting one last night against the New Jersey Devils is our friend Aaron Portzline. Portsy, how are you today, pal? Yeah, our guy.
You're my favorite guys. How you doing?
We're doing great. First, I want to get into the sort of weeds here on a couple of things from last night. But I'll be honest with you, and I watched him play in the GTHL. I'm going to be that guy. I watched him when he played with the Toronto Red Wings in the OHL Cup final against Shane Wright and Brennan Othman and the powerhouse Don Mills Flyers, and Adam Fantilli almost beat Don Mills single-handedly in that first period. It was 3-0. I had no idea he could fight like that. Did you have any idea that Adam Fantilli could fight like that, Aaron?
I don't know that Adam Fantilli knew he could fight like that. That was his first NHL fight. He said he only had one fight kind of growing up. He's always played a physical game, though, so I think he felt confident he could handle himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, he landed like 5 or 6. I mean, 5 or 6 pretty good ones before really Siegenthaler got back into it. Yeah, I mean, it's a good sign, right? Like, I keep thinking about that, how strange that game last night felt compared to how hockey is played now.
Yeah.
And I think we'll probably look back on that game if we do remember it in a few years and be surprised that no, there was no Olivier there. There was no Goodbranson there. Like those are their merchants in that department usually. And both of those guys were out, which makes a game like that even more surprising.
Well, one of the things that I do wonder about, and we see this with players like Olivier or Nick Delorier or take your pick, like they'll pull kids aside and say, like, look, if it ever happens, like this is how you defend yourself. It's more along the lines of here's necessarily not how to fight, but if someone does grab you, here's how you defend yourself. I'd really be curious if Fantilli has had those conversations or on ice sort of tug and pulls and how do you seatbelt. But the thing is, like, it didn't look like Fantilli was trying to just play defense here and just bear hug Siegenthaler. Like, he was there to throw. I think it's even surprised. If I'm Siegenthaler, I'm like, okay, I'm going to wrap up Fantilli here and everything's going to be fine. Bam, bam, bam. Hold on a second here. Did Olivier and Fantilli switch jerseys here? What have I done?
Did I grab the wrong script? Yeah. You know, the other thing to consider, too, is Jody Shelley's around all the time. He's the Blue Jackets broadcaster, and he's in the room all the time. Adam Fantilli has all kinds of resources he could go to in terms of the fight game.
Yes.
So, yeah, it'd be good. I mean, it's not something we've ever asked Fantilli because it hasn't, surfaced and they're off today, but it'd be a good question tomorrow or the next day for sure.
So it's Brendan Dillon's 1,000th game.
Right.
He gets his face planted in the ice. He comes back in the game. They're in Jersey. The emotions are all over the place. I am astonished the Devils didn't find a way to win that game based on all of the wind in their sails.
Yeah.
But the Blue Jackets did. And then not only did they win the game, but when the Devils finally found a heartbeat late on that power play goal by Timo Meier, they forced a turnover and then put the game away. What does that kind of game do for the Blue Jackets this season?
Yeah, and remember, too, that's a very salient point, but they were also down 2-0 3 minutes into the game, too, right? Like, there's a bunch of things you can look at last night, and maybe this is a game. We'll see where it goes, but maybe this is a game where you look back a couple months, maybe next spring, and point to this as a galvanizing night for the Blue Jackets. I think a couple guys even said that in the room after the game that there's so many ways that this could have gone wrong. If you know what they've been up against the last month here, the Blue Jackets have blown all kinds of third period leads. Like it's 7 games that they've led in the third period. They have gone on to either lose in regulation or in overtime here just in November. So that's become a mental hurdle as well. The 5th goal, the 5-3 goal, as you mentioned, Coyle pulling it off the stick of, I believe it was Hughes, and I think Wood scored at the former Devil. That's a big one for them because that's the goal they have not had in these games. They've not been coached to be, but they've been very passive, at times nervous, but way overly careful down the stretch. So that was a big stretch for them last night, and a big win, a big road win for a team that has historically struggled on the road.
I want to ask you about Voronkov. Now, it's not as if he hasn't ever fought before. Remember him fighting Arbor Jacki not too long ago as well. But the Brendan Dillon fight may have caught Dillon maybe by a little bit by surprise, even though he kind of threw the first left, didn't get a chance to get the mittens off. But nonetheless, the Stefan Noesen answer fight, I suppose.
Yeah.
So a couple of things there. Voronkov, I'm going to try not to use the word code here, but Voronkov, as Noesen is going down, helps get him back up and doesn't hit him.
Correct.
That doesn't happen once; it happens twice, and then they get to the ground, and Nason throws a couple. Now, if you rewind to the weekend, Nashville and Winnipeg had a game where Logan Stanley and Michael McCarron had a scrap, and when it went down to the ice, Logan Stanley. Actually, here we go. You can see this is Stanley and McCarron from the weekend. As it goes down to the ice, McCarron, bam, right there, and another one throws two when Logan Stanley is down, and he loses it. Stanley chirps at Jonathan Taves. Actually, has a big bark at McCarron about it as well. Fighting is up, and it seems as if like dirty fighting is up too. Like the punching a guy when he's down. Here's the Steph Nason Voronkov fight. Maybe we'll get you to narrate this one, Aaron. But like, what did you think? Like the dynamics on this one? Because I thought Voronkov was really nice. At right here, he could have hammered Nason, and he didn't. There, he could have hammered Nason, and he didn't. But when it goes down to the ground, Nason gets a couple of cheapies in.
Little rabbit punches. Yeah, but this is something I sometimes this game, if you cover it long enough, that you don't notice the changes because they're so gradual. Then you look back. I think when I started covering the league, like in 2000, if somebody had thrown punches once they were down on the ice, all hell would have broken loose on the ice, like right then. And it just seems like that's been kind of okayed or accepted here the last 5 or 10 years. I don't know where it started. I don't know who was the first to let it slide, but you're right. And it's been strange to me because after the game last night, I think in the last 12 hours, the narrative is sort of birthed in New Jersey that Voronkov took advantage of Brandon Dillon, who wasn't prepared to fight, that Fantilli threw 7 or 8 punches on Siegenthaler before Siegenthaler realized that they were fighting. Both of those seem strange to me. If anything, I'm with you there, Jeff, where I felt like if Voronkov really wanted to do some damage to Stefan Nason, he could have, especially that second time when he got him back up again. I think so. With Voronkov, a great quote from Kirill Marchenko. This is probably 3 years ago now, before Voronkov had arrived. I said to him, "Tell me about Voronkov." And in his broken English, it's gotten better, much better now. But Voronkov says, "How did he say? I am nice, Russian boy. Chinikov is cute, Russian boy. Voronkov, mean, Russian boy." Which is like, that's when you go, "Thanks, man. Hey, I got it." That's how he described him. And his first game, he takes the ice. You referenced it, Jeff. First game in Montreal, just all hell breaks loose. He ends up fighting Jack Guy. I can't remember who else was involved, but there was just debris all over the place. You're thinking, God, this is going to be a wild ride. And what's changed, what's evolved since then is this guy's a goal scorer who honestly doesn't play as physically as they'd want him to play. I don't think they want him fighting all the time. They don't. No. But he's not hard to play against on a lot of nights. He takes up a lot of space. He's hard for people to move net front, but he's not looking for people with their head down. He's not blowing up hits along the ice. Much of it's been attributed to him not being fleet of foot. He's a big man. They've talked about his conditioning, that he's not been able to get to hits. I'm just not sure he wants to be that nasty guy, or known for that. I think he kind of likes it as a tool in his toolbox, but not as the number one definer of his game. So,
to your point about Fantilli going at Siegenthaler quick, and maybe Voronkov going at Brendan Dillon, the theory that I've always subscribed to in fight situations, it's an old cliche. Maybe you guys have heard it, maybe you haven't. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6.
Yeah, right.
You get that one, Greg?
Yeah.
No. Is that a jury versus what? Explain.
How many people carry a coffin? 6. I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6. It's a fight.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Greg didn't like it. Aaron liked it. Thanks, Portsy.
No, that's fine. I try to avoid images of death. Now, here's the thing.
I worked at a cemetery for like 5 years. Come on.
Oh, that's true. What was
Yeah.
the grave? The famous grave? you
Park
always
Lawn
talk
Cemetery.
about?
Yeah, Harold Ballard. Conn Smythe's also buried there too.
Harold.
Oh,
And
wow.
Rob
Ballard.
Ford, our former mayor of Toronto, is buried there too. Oh yeah.
There's a lot of symbolism in that. Yeah.
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 Um,
That fight last
I wanted-
night.
Go ahead, Portsy.
Well, I was just going to say the complaints about those fights last night reminded me of the Dalton Proud Milan Lucic fight.
We dropped him. Yeah.
Yeah, one punch.
One punch.
And I mean, they skated like 25 feet, staring each other down, and then the gloves came off, and Proud hit him. And the complaint was like, I wasn't expecting a fight. And you're like, good God, like Milan Lucic, really? Everybody in the world was. Anyways,
I want to pick your brain on the Blue Jackets for a second because I was scanning through their stats last night. I was fascinated. What the hell happened to Kent Johnson? Like this guy was always grouped in with being part of this brilliant young core they were building there. He's like a minus 13 or in that neighborhood. He's got like 5 points this season. What's going on with this kid?
Yeah. That second line that he's been on has been an absolute. It's been the abyss, and it's been him for a while before he got going here. The last few games, it was Sean Monahan. On the other side of it was Boone Jenner. That top line carried them with Marchenko and Voronkov. At first, it was with Monahan between them. Then it's been with Fantilli, and the third line was really good. Johnson's had these stretches before early in his career. Nothing maybe quite like this, but yeah, he's a playmaking winger, which is kind of an interesting dynamic on any line. Loves to handle the puck, loves to carry the puck, loves to dangle it. And I think the complaint is always they want more north-south. And I think his tendency is east-west. I think he likes to string things out and survey and look around and find unique ways to make plays. Having said that, he made a play last night. Was it on the first goal at the blue power? Yes, it was. It was Matejczuk's goal, where he's the one guy on this team that can single-handedly gain the zone, and they use him in that capacity on the power play. He made a great play getting it into the blue line, and it wasn't to him, but it looked like to the rest of the world a blind pass along the blue line to his backhand that just alleviated pressure. He's been in one of those funks that you just and again, Monahan was there with him until he awakened like 3 or 4 games ago. Boone Jenner hasn't been great either. There's been a few guys that just, you always think that what happens one year is just going to be built upon the next year, right? I used to sit next to Doug McLean, and like if somebody had 12 goals the previous year, where he's going to have 18 this year, if he had 15, he's going to have 20, right? Nobody was going backward, right? Everything was just going up.
Right, that's right.
And it's every year is its own animal. I'm writing today for tomorrow that a lot of people didn't like the Charlie Coyle Miles Wood trade with Colorado. Like, why are they taking those expensive players off the Avs' hands? But where would the Blue Jackets be right now without Charlie Coyle and Miles Wood, who have played huge roles for them, like really big, and really those guys have helped alleviate what would be a really troubling situation for them offensively if they weren't here and Johnson were having the troubles he's having, Jenner was having the troubles he had before he was hurt, et cetera. So it's weird how things work out every year or don't.
I'll tell you what, I thought one of the sneaky good moves though was picking up Isaac Lundestrom. I've always looked at Lundestrom and said, like, as far as like, Timu Patrice Bergeron, like, Barkov Light, whatever you want to describe it, like,
whoa,
that's Isaac Lundestrom.
Yeah. And tell me what you love about him, because I see the composure and the smarts, but people I talked to, there were some people who mentioned even William Karlsson as a player that maybe didn't peak offensively until he got into a different situation, that maybe Lundestrom could be that. There is no offensive danger in his game that I can see. But
I remember when he was with Anaheim, and it was like that was when Anaheim had like a number of like it was either like a Cogliano and Silfverberg, like undercover Selke Trophy candidate guys. And like Lundestrom was like, we all considered the way that Lundestrom played, like, okay, he's going to be the next, he's not going to win it, but he's going to be like an undercover Selke guy. So somewhere down the road, but but don't expect like William Karlsson popped off for 40. That one, Don't expect anything like 40, unless as Brian Burke would say, unless you count the goals in warm up. If you count the goals in warm up, he may get 40.
That's awesome. I love it.
Last one. Portsy, where do you see this? Where do you see the CBJ team headed, man? Like this division is kind of funky. It's hard. Like again, like that Devils team without Jack Hughes is. Just trying to like tread water right now, and we had our fits and spurts of the Penguins and Rangers and Flyers, and obviously Carolina is kind of looking down on everybody. What do you make of the CBJ vis-a-vis the Metro Division right now?
Yeah, I mean it's kind of it's a big old mess kind of right now. There is starting to be some separation at the top, though, right? I think we're starting to see that. I think the Blue Jackets believe that they've left a lot of points out there here the last 3 or 4 weeks with those late leads. Like they've had a couple games. They played Colorado early. I think. Everybody knew Colorado was good, but I don't think many people thought this kind of a heater right at the start was possible. And the Blue Jackets got a rude awakening in that game. Like, whoa, like okay, that's the next level, right? Or maybe 2 or 3 levels up. I think they feel like they can be a really, really good team. They still have some young players who are still getting better. Marchenko is probably the star player that is not known about across the NHL quite to the level he should be. Looks like a 40-goal guy. That's huge. Fantilli looks to be the two-way center that this organization always wanted and couldn't quite either get or keep. So there are parts here. Werenski looks like, I don't know if he wins the Norris as long as he plays in the Cale Makar Hughes era. It's going to be tough. And the market doesn't help him necessarily.
And now here comes that kid with the Islanders.
Yeah,
he's pretty good. Watch that kid.
Yeah, exactly. But he's a really good, like game-changing type defenseman, right? So the parts are here. I think the question really is, what does Jack Greaves become, right? When they move on from Elvis Merzlikins, who steps in there? They've got a ton of young goalies who none of them are even a year away necessarily. So that's really the position that's got to change. Yeah. The other thing I like about this team, I think the defense is still kind of a mishmash that they've spackled together to be competitive this year. But the thing that's just different about their forward group that they've never had is to have a Fantilli, a Monahan, Coyle down the middle. And if you're really good down the middle, it's just so much easier to have forward lines and a competent offensive approach. They've not had that. And, Sillinger can play in the middle. Jenner can play in the middle. They have center depth and strength that they've never had before. So I think they're really super competitive. I think they can be really good, but it's choppy right now as they're trying to kind of find themselves.
I need 30 hot seconds out of you, Aaron, on one topic. Give me 30 hot seconds on what happens with Boone Jenner.
Great question. They get more calls on Boone Jenner than they get on anybody. Every trade deadline. Yeah. He is up. The Blue Jackets have said they want him to be a lifelong Blue Jacket. Boone Jenner wants the same. What have they seen from this team with Jenner out of the lineup? What kind of offers do they get for him in March? I think they feel like they've got leadership in the room where a trade is no longer out of the question, but they'd love to keep Boone Jenner around because he is. It just seems, Jeff, he's only been here. He's been here for 11 years. It seems like there's never been a Blue Jackets organization without Boone Jenner, doesn't it?
Yep.
Like I know he hasn't played 25 years,
It's true.
but was there ever a time when he wasn't here? It just doesn't seem possible.
I think Dave King coached him once upon a time there with CB.
Yes,
Players, right?
probably.
Under a captainship of Lyle Odeline once upon a time. With
I was waiting to see who was going to make the first Lyle Odeline reference.
Okay, and there it is. You're the best, Aaron. Always a pleasure to have you aboard. Continued success. We'll check back soon.
Great. A delight, guys. Thank you.
There he is, the great Aaron Portzline from The Athletic, covers the Columbus Blue Jackets, and who, whenever I talk to Aaron, I always feel better and I feel smarter understanding the Blue Jackets a lot more than I do. And that line, by the way, from Marchenko about Voronkov is, by the way, Zach, that's the promo. Is Kirill Marchenko explaining Voronkov and Chinakhov to Aaron's Portzline. That's the promo.
Portzline, like I've been friends with him since the Puck Daddy days, and like he's in the pantheon with Mike Russo and a few other guys, where if you need to know something about a hockey team, these are the people that you read. 100%. They're plugged in, they're smart. Even if they weren't plugged in, they know how to analyze the game in ways that is just revelatory. I love talking to him, and you know, honestly, like, couldn't find a better ambassador for hockey in Columbus. Which, by the way, too, like, we've often talked, I think, Merrick, about the Islanders, and whenever they get back to prominence, how you're going to see Islanders fans across the nation come out of hibernation to support the team. I think when Columbus finally does have the hammer to wield as a real cup contender, like, that's just a market that's ready to explode. I've said that for years. It's college town. They've got now a generational fan base of people that have been going to those games since they were kids, and now they have kids. Like, that's how long the team's been in the league for. Whenever they get a legitimate cup contender, I think Columbus is just going to be like a boom market for the NHL.
I don't disagree at all. I would hope that as well, when they pop, because all organizations do this, and it's loved by the fans, when they bring back, you know, the older legends, either the ones that played or the ones that were behind the bench or other general managers, I really hope that they carve out, you know, Aaron just mentioned Doug MacLean a second ago. I really do hope that they carve out an area or have a night where, like, there has, like, the proper welcome back to Columbus, the guy that was there for the beginning of all of it. I know, like, the Florida Panthers and Doug MacLean hasn't been the best of all possible relationships, which at times made things very awkward, considering he took the Florida Panthers to the Stanley Cup final in 1996. I would think that Columbus would be a little kinder to Doug than Florida was. There's like oodles of rat nostalgia, but none of it involves the guy who, like, was there. I know, got them there.
Always we did. By the way, first of all, when I say boom market, canon reference, although ironically, I guess that makes it a canon reference. But the other thing too is that we haven't even mentioned the fact that the Columbus Blue Jackets were best known in the last, like, month for being called out by Bill Simmons as the most inconsequential team in professional sports.
But you know what, though? It kind of went away fast.
Yeah,
because I like, honestly, like, I part of me was like, well, we're talking to Aaron. I was like, maybe I should mention this, and I'm like, the whole thing kind of died quickly, you know, like, and it wasn't as if Columbus grabbed it and used it to their advantage. Oh, by the way,
they didn't take like a rallying cry out of it or anything.
No, they really didn't. And, like, I remember, like, the closest thing we've seen to that was when Kevin Adams gave his famous palm tree press conference. I remember talking to someone at the Buffalo Sabres who was like, okay, look, we have plans here now that all we need is the Buffalo Sabres to start winning. We do have plans in the organization to do, like, something thematic with palm trees, but we can't do it until we start winning. And that's why I really want. The problem was the Sabres never started winning. Like, they're all set to go. Like, they had the ideas, like, marketing had all set to go. God. It was going to be great. The problem is, like, the hockey team didn't go along with the bit, and the hockey team didn't win. Otherwise, it would have been a great palm trees and meets Buffalo Sabres marketing initiative by the organization. And
they never won enough to execute the marketing plan.
Never happened.
You know, listen. I honestly don't think Simmons is that far off on it. I mean, the Blue Jackets are, unfortunately, a team that is there. You know, they've had a few fits and starts of relevance, the Lightning series and And some of the players that they have certainly popped, but they're building something really nice, and they're building something that I think is going to be consequential. And if they can figure out their goaltending, which they're halfway there, although I think Merzlikins has had his moment. I think he's been pretty good this season overall, Merzlikins. They could make some noise, especially in a division like Aaron said is really sort of uppy downy.
I really hope so. Here,
producer Zach has just sent me and Merrick a message about how Matthew Olivier has liked a post.
He liked the post, yes.
That says, "I'm willing to bet Matthew Olivier has 12/31/25 circled on his calendar, assuming he's recovered from his injury by then," which I'm assuming is the next tete-a-tete between the New Jersey Devils and the Columbus Blue Jackets, one would assume.
So they're going to try to trade to get Curtis McDermott back now, just for that game, like they traded for him to face off against Matt Rempe.
I know. There
Devils
you go.
have to go out and get themselves.
Hey,
okay.
Do you know numerically that fighting is up this year, or is that observational?
Yeah, no, I was having this conversation with someone the other day. Like, it's not like substantial; it hasn't like doubled, but fighting is up this year. Mm-hmm. Fighting is up this year. Yeah,
it makes it. Listen, we just did like at least a third of the podcast on it. It adds a little sizzle. We don't want to go back. We're not going back, folks. We're not going back to line brawls and goonery and all of it, but it adds a little sizzle to the proceedings when it does happen, somewhat organically. Can't say it was organically last night. There was a lot of comeuppance last night, but occasionally you get these games and it just makes my life more interesting, doesn't it?
Again, though, like, and I think a lot of it is just because a lot of these guys haven't done this, and so they don't know the rules to a lot of it, like a lot of tougher players have in the past. A lot of these fights are pretty dirty. Like this idea of like when you can hit someone and when you can't, and what you can do, and when a fight is over. Like,
because they don't know the code.
They don't.
Yeah,
they don't know. And maybe I should just say, like, Merrick, there's no real code. Like, that's like really loose, and like it's a fight, so whatever happens. But there kind of always has been, and I think because a lot of these guys haven't done it before, they just think like you just keep hitting until the linesman grabs your arms.
I wonder if there's a way to determine who the worst fighter in NHL history was, and how many fights would they have had to have in order to establish that.
You know who I always felt bad for?
David Kochi.
Ooh, his face after the Zdeno. Oh.
That was a guy. Yes. That was a guy who always, he was like the de facto enforcer for teams, but he always was just seemingly taking punches.
I always felt bad for Keith Magnuson, the late Keith Magnuson, who tragically died in a car crash. I felt bad for Keith Magnuson because Chicago in the 70s. This is when like every team had like 8 or 9 gorillas. Magnuson was the only guy that was available to fight for the Chicago Blackhawks. And so he had to fight everybody. Like everybody that came through, every Philadelphia Flyer, every Boston Bruin, every Los Angeles Kings. So like every Dave Schultz, every Terry O'Reilly, every Randy Holt, like he fought all these guys. And he was tough, but he wasn't that tough. He was really game though. He was only too happy to do it, and it's because, just to be blunt, like Bill Wirtz was like too cheap to pay another guy to do that job. That was the era where you had to have a couple of guys doing that job. That was the guy that was the guy that I always felt bad for.
So we have some homework now for the listeners before Thursday's MVSW. Find us the worst fighter, minimum 5 fights. And find us the.
No, it's got to be more than 5. It's got to be more than 5.
Right. Minimum what? 20?
50.
Minimum 50 fights. What's the minimum you put on? Who's the sneaky best fighter that we've had? Because I imagine I'm thinking more in the lines of skills players. How many fights would they have to have?
Oh, how about this one?
10?
Toughest. Yeah, let's do 10. Toughest skilled player. Oh, I like this. Okay, so toughest skilled player, worst fighter.
Worst fighter and sneaky best fighter who's a skill player. That's what I'm looking for from the listeners before Thursday.
Ooh, I like this.
Or from Jeff, who will now go home tonight and burn the midnight oil trying to determine these two things.
By the time, I'm going to have like 2 Louis Vuitton bags under my eyes. I stayed up for 48 hours, Greg, and I have your answer.
Pictures on the wall, strings connecting them. He's ready for it,
That's what
folks.
it's going to be with the cigarette. All right. We got to get hustling. I got to hop on Tyler's show too. You be good. We will touch base on Thursday with our research projects ready to present.
Thanks to everybody for watching and listening. Thanks to the New York Rangers for allowing me to be here in their radio room, echoey as it is. And for the Wi-Fi only screwing up at least 3 times. I appreciate it.
That's okay. Bless you, Wi-Fi. And bless you, Greg Wyshynski. And I'm glad to hear the turkey worked out well with the deep fryer as well. We're all very thankful for that. All right, Zach, we got to hustle here, but that's been a fun show. I know there's a lot of talk about hockey fights, but it's kind of been like coming off last night. It's kind of the theme of the day.
Yeah. All season long, it's felt like there's a lot of fights that are going on, and a lot of times we're watching being like, wow, did you see who was involved in that one? Like, I can't believe that guy fought, or that guy was in that scrum, which I think is kind of fun. A little scary, probably, for the teams that are paying them a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, when you see Nathan McKinnon and Charlie McAvoy fighting, both teams are probably sitting there being like, that was great, love the passion, let's never do that again.
let's just grab onto the collar and hold on and nudge the linesman to come in and break this thing up, and we'll both sit 5 and pretend we're tough guys. All right, the sheet is powered by FanDuel. Play your game with FanDuel. It's the NHL season, and FanDuel is your home for all the action on the ice. From Blue Line to BetSlip, we've got you covered all season long with unique promos, live offerings, and more features to let you play your game. Missed puck drop? No sweat. With the live same-game parlay, you can build your bets up until the final buzzer. Download FanDuel Sportsbook today and play your game. Please play responsibly, 18 plus, and physically located in Ontario. If you have questions or concerns about your gambling or the gambling of someone close to you, please contact Connects Ontario at 1-866-531-2600 to speak to an advisor free of charge. You got some crafty plan tonight? Something thematic planned for the evening? And they say this sport has no poets. They say this sport has no comedians. They say this sport has no one that will tickle you under the chin. Ladies and gentlemen, I present Zach Phillips.
Last night we were close. Celebrini did get the shots. I believe that the Sharks won, but no goals from Celebrini, so that one kills us there. That I'm going to blame that on Laz because he was the one with the goals as well, so easy out for me. Sometimes, Jeff, as you said, things fall in your lap. You know, you've got the Portsy line about Marchenko and Voronkov. Easy clip for us. This one as well, early off the top of the show, Wish talked about the audition. So I said, you know what? Audible. This one becomes much easier for me. I had something in Florida, Toronto. I scrapped it. And we are going with, if anybody is familiar with Grey's Anatomy, which, Jeff, I'm going to assume you're not.
I know. I know Grey's. No, I didn't watch all the shows, but I know Grey's Anatomy. Absolutely.
There's a famous line, pick me, choose me, love me.
Ooh.
As Jason Robertson auditions for a spot on Team USA tonight. Jason Robertson anytime goal. Jason Robertson 4+ shots on goal. And the Dallas Stars to win -1.5. That one, $5 would pay $30.77 at plus 615 there.
Trying to think of who the Buffalo Sabre player was. Was it Max Afinogenov, who after he scored a goal on the Maple Leafs, was it Afinogenov? I don't know. You're probably too young for this one, where he pulled out like the fake cell phone and did the call me thing. You know what I would love to see? Jason Robertson score against the Rangers, skate by the Rangers bench to Mike Sullivan and do this. Call me. Tell me you wouldn't love that if he does the call me. With doing the thing with the fingers, with the thumb and the pinky, the call me Zach Phillips. Tell me that wouldn't be the best move you'd see tonight. Jason Robertson would call me to Mike Sullivan. That'd be hilarious. There's no chance it happens. You know why there's no chance it happens? Because it's freaking hockey. That's why. Yeah. If it were football, happen. Basketball, happen. Hockey, silence. Yep. Put your head down, skate to the bench.
Yep. No, I agree. That would be the
best. Come on, Robo, let's go.
I got one thing for you before we can leave. The
what's
chat was
up?
awesome today, very active.
Nice.
But there was a lot of comments about your outfit and the way you were dressed
outfit?
today.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
it was brought up at the beginning, and it's been
I'm
brought
like-
up numerous
I'm like-
different times.
I'm like the dad that's trying to be hip. Yeah, there it is. Hello, fellow kids. I do have the hello, fellow kids vibe going on right now, too, don't I? Steve Buscemi. That's
I
fucking
couldn't
fantastic.
leave the show without putting that
Oh,
up, so there
dude,
we
you
go.
just made my day. And from now on, I'll wear a fucking suit on the show every single day because of the hello, fellow kids. You just put up for me. All right, fine. You want it that way, Zach? All right.
No,
that's
I
good.
like it.
Who
You-
put that
you do
one?
whatever
Who
you
put that
want.
one up? Was that Willie?
Ryan B and NYR Boost had been requesting that one numerous
Fuckers.
times throughout. Yeah,
Fuckers,
yeah.
how dare you? How dare you be right about me? How dare you nail me 100%? It'll happen to you too one day. I'll be long gone by then. And Zach, it's going to happen to you too one
But
day.
the thing is,
But then I'll be long
is-
gone.
you have the precedent of looking like a professional. I have
Oh,
set a
God,
standard
yeah,
of
yeah.
I look like a slob. So like when you go to
Oh, you
hat
know-
and hoodie, it's like, oh, what
Yeah.
happened with Jeff? There's no everyone's
Yeah,
just
he
like,
got,
look
he
at
got
that.
kicked out of his
Yeah.
house. He got kicked out. Is he single now? What the hell? Family finally kick him out. Oh, the one thing that I did want to point out, and we got to get going here. I was going to mention this to Wish. So a buddy of mine heard me and Wish talking about the Spud Kings last year, and said next time I go to a Spud Kings game, I'm going to get you a hat and a T-shirt. And Idaho Falls Spud Kings from the United States Premier Hockey League, right here, babe. I got a hat that I got to flip Wish's way, but shout out to the Spud Kings, who still have one of the best names, Zach, and logos in all of hockey, professional or otherwise. All right, I got to hustle. Great to hear that the chat was active and having a lot of fun. Love it. If you want to roast me, fine, go for it. It's not like I don't give you enough fuel. So thanks for that, gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the games this evening. And thanks to Greg Wyshynski for stopping by. Thanks to the great Aaron Portsline from The Athletic, who writes on the Columbus Blue Jackets, for stopping by. Just an outstanding professional, tremendous writer, real insight for the game, and one of, full stop, the best people you are going to meet in the game of hockey. So thanks to Aaron for stopping by the show today. We are back tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, for The Sheet. It is Wednesday. That means let's get ready to grumble with Brian Burke. Morning Cup of Hockey tomorrow, DFO Live at noon, and then our little chimp act here, me and Zach and the chat, roasting me. Not like I don't deserve it. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Jeff Merrick along with you. I hope you enjoyed the program today. If you did, or maybe even if you didn't, they can't all be gems, folks. Please hit the subscribe button. Also a reminder, every morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, Johnny Lazarus, Colby Cohen, I call them the Impact Players. You might know them as a tandem that makes up the Morning Cup of Hockey. Also DFO Live at noon Eastern. This year, your host Tyler Yaremchuk alongside Carter Hutton. Full day's worth of programming right here on Daily Face-Off, your favorite YouTube hockey channel. And as a reminder as well, Zach Phillips, our producer here for The Sheet, said if you subscribe, he'll buy you a puppy.